of acting is getting in the ring with Tyson.
And now, Bravo profiles Tom Cruise. He's got a paralyzing smile that blends innocence with heat and all-American good looks that mesmerize his starry-eyed female fans. He's Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise is in the prime of his career, starring in blockbuster movies and adored by millions of fans who follow his every move. One of them being the starring role in Stanley Kubrick's last film, Eyes Wide Shut, opposite his wife, Nicole Kidman. He's the boy next door turned America's sex symbol. An accomplished actor whose ability seems to know no limits. Bravo profiles Tom Cruise.
Tom, I don't think thinks of acting as acting. I think he thinks of acting as getting in the ring with Tyson.
People say, gosh, it must be hard spending that much time together, but we spent 24 hours a day together and we loved it.
Tom Cruise lights up a set like a Christmas tree.
He looks at films like a student looks at his favorite class.
I think he really wants to learn, and I'm really impressed by the fact that all this crap doesn't really impress him.
I work my tail off on every single thing I do. And what I don't appreciate is people not understanding what it takes.
For me, I fell in love with Tom, so I have to accept what goes with that.
When he first burst onto the scene, some of Hollywood's best paid him the highest compliment a young actor can receive. They said he had all the right moves and that he was here to stay.
I think he's going to survive his youth. And there's not very many young actors that you can say that of today. That is saying something about the gift that he's got, the tenacity that he has, and the integrity that he has.
Thomas Cruise Mapother IV had talent, packaged with a brilliant smile, great looks, and the perfect Hollywood name. All the makings of a star. One day, the aspiring young actor entered an agent's office and exited as Tom Cruise.
I had this wonderful feeling about him when he shook my hand, and I knew then that he would be a major star. He came in as Thomas Mayapeth IV, and he left my office as Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise. Somewhere, Tab Hunter, Rip Torn, and Rock Hudson must be smiling to hear a name that sounds so Hollywood. Tom Cruise's start in the movies came in 1981. He was just 17 years old. In fact, he was still in high school, but that didn't seem to deter the young star in the making.
First of all, he made the rounds and met some of the agents, and everyone loved him. The first job he got was Endless Love, that Brooke Shields starred in. It was a small role. It was the role of a football player. And this was unbelievable because Tom was not a tall, big, bruising kind of guy. But I called up the casting people because the agent felt he wouldn't be right for it. They said he wasn't big enough, he wasn't tall enough. I said, listen, I have a new kid here and I think he's great for this role. Will you see him? She said, yes. Saw him and booked him right then and there.
Endless Love is a movie about high school angst. Tom's total time on screen was all of 7 minutes. But it was enough to give him a taste of what he longed for.
It was very apparent from the first year when I had him in high school that this is what he wanted to pursue.
Early in his career, there was a gauntlet of dirty, difficult jobs. He unloaded trucks, worked as a janitor, and lived on a busboy's tips. But the hardest part was to endure agents telling him he didn't have a chance in Hollywood. But nothing was going to stop Tom Cruise.
I've grown a lot. When I started out, especially in the beginning, I just didn't know what I was doing, and I'd find myself kind of watching outside of myself, each line or watching that, which is what a lot of actors sometimes tend to do.
2 years and 3 films later, all of his hard work paid off. He was a box office smash.
It happened so fast because he had that certain something. He had a certain type of charisma, and he was a natural in his talent, that if he could walk into a room, he held the person there that was interviewing him. Everyone loved him that met him.
To understand Tom Cruise and his mega success, you must understand his work ethic. He doesn't just act, he attacks his roles.
If I'd have to look at myself, I think I would like to be known as the hardest working, and someone who tries to do the best that he can every time out, and I do. I give my blood to each thing I do, and that's how I feel about myself.
Even with his success, he approaches every role as if it's his first, and he's come a long way from nowhere to be at the top of the most lucrative business in the world. At 20, Tom Cruise was by no means a household name, although he had already acted in several films. But these minor roles did not go unnoticed, and Tom was soon impressing the movie critics, especially with his role in Taps. He played a psychotic cadet at a military academy.
He plays a small part, again, as a cadet in a military school. One of the other actors who had a much bigger part couldn't do the physical exertions that the role of a cadet training called for. The director called Tom Cruise aside and said, I want to give you this bigger role playing the psycho cadet because the actor can't hack it physically. This was a major break for Tom Cruise, and even then he was generous enough to say, I'm not going to steal a role from a fellow actor. The director said, fine, we're going to fire the guy anyway and we'll give it to somebody else. And he said, okay, I'll do it. And he went from having a bit part to maybe the third or fourth lead in Taps. He's got a crew cut, and he's absolutely nuts in the movie, and that got him a lot of attention.
The critical acclaim acted as a springboard to his budding stardom.
He really came out of nowhere. He kind of worked his way in. He was just a kid from New Jersey. Tried to get on television first, hook up with a series, didn't work out, but stuck with it, and is a classic example of someone who's hit it big. I mean, if there's anyone in America right now who represents movies in the 90s, it's Tom Cruise.
A year later, lightning did strike with the movie that started it all, Risky Business. Although few at the time thought he was making the right decision.
Previous movies like The Outsiders and Taps, they were not what you'd call mass appeal movies, although they had critical success. Risky Business had both critical and commercial success. And one other important thing, he was the sole star of the film, instead of like he was in the other films where he was kind of hidden within an ensemble cast. So he kind of got his chance to stand out.
The project belonged to mogul David Geffen. And with Cruise's knack for making the right suggestions, he created a character so memorable that he launched a fashion craze in the process.
Tom Cruise has a natural sex appeal, of course, and he has an air of mystery about him, I think, which young women find appealing. He's very good looking, and he appeals to teenagers. He appeals to women older than him, too. So that's one of the secrets of his success.
Risky Business was the first indication of what a consummate professional Tom Cruise was. Also a perfectionist, didn't mind stepping on toes if it was for the sake of making a better product.
But before Risky Business delivered its powerful punch, Tom had to overcome one problem. Cruise was not very cozy with his co-star, Rebecca De Mornay. He complained there was no spark, no chemistry, so he tried to get her fired. When the producers said no, he tried another approach. He moved in with her. Their romance continued for more than 2 years.
And I think that enriched the movie because in the film, as you recall, he was crazy about this prostitute. He had 2 huge sex scenes with her, And if there was no chemistry between him and his co-star, that would have shown on the screen. By the middle of the film, they were sharing a hotel suite, and the romance continued after filming ended.
Stardom made Tom one of Hollywood's most eligible bachelors, but it wasn't that long ago when he was just another small-town schoolboy. His senior year at Glen Ridge High School in New Jersey, he attended 15 different schools. The Mappathers were a family of 6. Tom and his 3 sisters were forced to keep moving to follow their father from job to job as an electrical salesman. As hard as this must have been, it didn't affect Tom's warm and charming way.
He was the shy, quiet, smiling guy at the back of the crowd, you know, and he was a very, very nice, modest kid.
He was very mature for his age. He did not do any silly stuff like some of the other high school kids would do. You know, he had 2 jobs, and he was really the breadwinner of the family.
The constant uprooting forced Tom to develop an uncanny ability to make friends fast. It was sort of a crash course in making great first impressions in the high-powered world of Hollywood casting agents, movie producers, and directors.
I think it was his charisma. I think that whomever he met, you know, in the business, found him very easy to be with, easy to work with. He just was a great kid to have around.
High school athletics softened the edge of Cruise's nomadic existence. Sports became his vehicle for making friends and harnessing his energy and drive. But Tom remains modest about his athletic ability, saying he was only trying desperately to fit in.
I always was wearing the wrong shoes. It's fascinating to me how people talk about my, you know, athletic ability because, I mean, in high school, you know, I mean, I was not, you know, captain of the football team or anything like that. I was, you know, anything I did, I really just kind of threw myself into and worked as hard as I could at it.
Along with humility, another quality emerged from all the moving. It forced an intense focus, which enabled him to block out all the troubling distractions. Playing sports rendered that focus razor sharp.
Tom was as intense a young man as you can have. When he came to my soccer team, we were not having a good season, and we lost a lot of serious games. And every game that we lost, he would get upset. He would even lecture the other students about being a real man and just take the loss and be serious about it instead of laughing and giggling in the back of the bus riding home. I liked his intensity.
Though he had the ability to become a professional athlete, he chose another venue for self-expression, acting. He sort of fell into acting when he broke an ankle training for a wrestling tournament. As a distraction, he auditioned for the high school play. After his senior production of Guys and Dolls, the stage, not the athletic field, became his home.
So I did Guys and Dolls, and then I just decided that I wanted to be an actor. And then I did a play, and I decided that you know, I wanted to pursue this and try it. So I did it, and I moved to New York.
After graduation, Tom Cruise was ready to take on New York.
I happened to turn to him to say, you know, one of those teacher things, well, Tom, what are you going to do for the summer, you know? And he said, well, I don't know, Mr. McFadden. I said, I think I'll go over to New York and I'll try out for the films and that kind of stuff. He says, if I don't make it, I think I'll just go to college.
He was always in New York doing commercials and taking acting lessons. A couple of times I talked to him about his academic subjects, but his main concern was how he was doing in acting and commercial. He said, that's my focus. That's what I want to be.
Acting was the perfect outlet for Cruise's intensity. With the concentration of a race car driver, Tom kept his eyes on the track and raced toward his goal. He began practicing cruise control, orchestrating every move of his young career.
This is the one that's a bear. Yep.
There's all this controversy, or people, you know, he's a control freak, he's this, and I thought the guy was great, and he as I've said, over a period of 5 months, he's the perfect person that you want to work with because he's so professional. And some people say that that he's professional to a fault, but when you work on a film for 5 months, you want to know what you're going to get every day.
Nature blessed him with more than ambition. It gave him this magic for melting hearts at a glance. Tom has the kind of charm that can be intoxicating. Even in high school, people knew he was different.
He was very popular in the high school. He didn't date too many girls on campus, but he was extremely popular. Very good looking, very handsome. A lot of girls, of course, chased him, but he didn't know a lot of them, so he was very selective.
But there was one woman who will always have a special place in Tom's heart. His mother. And before he could embrace his newfound love of acting, he had to come to terms with his parents' divorce. Tom Cruise belongs to a very elite group of movie actors, the kind that can get anything done. But to get there, he had to overcome more than just the usual obstacles any struggling actor faces. Tom Cruise had to overcome dyslexia. Dyslexia is a learning disability that makes reading and concentrating very difficult. For Tom's eyes, sometimes letters and words appear backwards or scrambled. Although this would be extremely frustrating for anyone, for Tom, who earned his living making words come to life, it was something he had coped with since his school days.
There's actually something I was a little embarrassed about in school, and I really had to find different ways to accommodate it. I mean, my situation is, not as severe as, a lot of people. But I actually think it's helped me.
I think he has a great visual sense. He had dyslexia as a child, and it made him rely on the visual rather than the printed word. And he can read a script and see what it's going to look like on screen, and that is an invaluable talent that studio executives wish they had.
Risky Business had an enormous impact on his personal life. It brought him into the big time, caught the attention of Hollywood, and made him a very wealthy young man. With all that newfound money and fame, Tom Cruise was going through a major transformation.
After Risky Business, I remember people recognizing me, for the first time, and I thought, I live in New York. I thought, someone, I'm going to get mugged or something. But it's something that you just have to really relax into and just take your time with it.
Tom was now commanding in excess of $1 million per film, plus a percentage of the profits. But in Hollywood, the only thing more important than money is control. Tom Cruise had earned the clout to have his pick of projects. Not bad for a lad of 21. But success and money can't erase pain. After his parents' marriage ended, Tom remained very close to his mother, but the relationship with his father was strained. In 1984, before seeing his son's success, Tom Cruise Mapother III passed away.
1983, 84 was the best of times and the worst of times in Tom Cruise's career. Risky Business had come out and made him an overnight star, and that year he hired a detective to track down his father. And he found his father in a hospital bed dying of cancer. He went to visit his father, and his father hadn't seen any of his films, including Risky Business. His father said, when I get out of here, we're going to go out and have a steak and a beer, and we're going to talk about everything. Unfortunately, the man never got out of the hospital, never saw his son's success, and Tom never got to share his success with his father.
Tom was 11 when his parents divorced, and life became difficult. Tom had to pitch in and help his mother make ends meet. This burden of responsibility and hard work taught Tom a great deal about survival.
I think that was his background and upbringing. His mother and sisters, they're very sweet people.
And I think Tom was very aware of that background, so he was very humble. He was brought up the hard way, and Tom always was aware of that.
To all those who knew him as a student at Glenridge High School, Tom will forever be remembered as a kind, thoughtful, and respectful young man who had a quest for knowledge. It was this desire for an education that led him to consider the priesthood. Tom attended the St. Francis Seminary in Cincinnati for a session.
His freshman year in high school, the family was too poor to send him to a private school, and they happened to be living in Louisville, Kentucky, where the public schools are not, shall we say, top rate. And he figured out how he could get a free, good private education. Unfortunately, it meant becoming a priest. So he enrolled in St. Francis Seminary in Cincinnati, and he spent a year in the seminary. And a life of celibacy was not for him. He used to sneak out on weekends and sneak over to a girl's house and with other girls and guys. They would play spin the bottle, make out, do whatever. And by his sophomore year, he was back in public school. He was not cut out to be a priest.
A sigh of relief when Tom decided that life in the church was not to be. But that experience proves that whether it's education or scripts, Tom Cruise searches for the best. Tom was about to make his 6th movie, one he would choose. All the Right Moves told the story of a high school football star who hopes to break out of a dreary, dead-end steel town. His ticket, a college football scholarship.
Marker. We're rolling in action. Go!
Like previous roles, Tom plays a teenager coming of age, and by the movie's dramatic touchdown conclusion, he becomes a man. But All the Right Moves was more than a film. It infused an enormous sense of hope and vitality into the town where the movie was made. The production poured $2 million into the local economy, and some 2,800 jobs were created in the use of extras and hired hands. All the Right Moves was not enthusiastically received, but despite its bad review, most critics agreed that Tom showed a great deal of promise, and yet he faced the prospect of being a one-hit wonder. The box office disappointment of All the Right Moves added to Tom's pressure. Other young actors, such as friends Rob Lowe and Emilio Estevez, were waiting in the wings to compete for top movie roles. Risky Business placed Tom on top of the world. 2 movies later, he was wondering if he would ever recapture the glory. At age 24, it seemed as if this young, sexy man would not be destined for superstardom after all. But failure is not in Tom's vocabulary. He never lost faith in himself or his dream. But his next movie would become an international blockbuster that would surpass even his wildest of dreams. Superstardom is reserved for a select few. And when the right star shines in the right role, it's movie magic. But the wrong choice can mean the difference between hit or miss. For every big winner, there are many more losers, and no one has a crystal ball to predict which foolproof hit will end up a miss and which sleeper will awaken the hearts of audiences and open wallets around the world. But Tom Cruise has the knack for doing just that.
He's got a great garbage detector. You know, he can look at a project and see whether it's garbage or not and pass on it. A lot of stars don't have a good one, or they may be very talented people, but Tom Cruise has been someone who's been able to steadily pick the right project and then execute it well. He's very methodical about it.
Without this ability, he never would have enjoyed international fame and wouldn't have the opportunity to once again shoot for the top. In 1986, at the age of 24, Tom had yet to repeat the level of box office success he'd enjoyed with his first hit. Cruise needed another big hit to prove that he possessed talent and not just luck. The offers were pouring in, but Tom was highly selective. When producers brought him a project for a militaristic war movie that would have made John Wayne smile, Tom turned it down. But in Hollywood, no doesn't always mean no. And these producers were among the industry's most successful veterans behind the camera, and they were determined to sign Cruise. They appealed to his sense of adventure by taking him for a ride in an F-14 Tomcat.
It's really a bigger-than-life experience. It's really, I mean, we shot 40,000 feet, above land, and just, peeling over the egg and free falling. It was incredible, really amazing.
Somewhere high above the stratosphere, beyond the speed of sound, Cruise changed his mind. He said yes on the tarmac, but there were conditions. The original storyline, glorifying war, was transformed into a male buddy movie. It was evident to all, Cruise was not just another actor.
Tom Cruise said, "This is jingoistic junk. I want to emphasize the relationship between me and the leading lady and between his fellow flyers." And that turned a movie that was basically just a flag waver into a deeply felt and very commercially successful movie.
With Cruise in the cockpit, Top Gun made him a top dog, grossing hundreds of millions of dollars at the box office. At 24, Cruise was flying high. And then he hit another peak. He fell in love. His heart's delight was actress Mimi Rogers. It looked like the perfect year.
He met Mimi Rogers at a dinner party. They were seated next to each other. It was a fix-up. And as he described it, it was lust at first sight.
When he married Mimi Rogers, they were both up-and-coming stars, I think, and so it was people were interested in Tom Cruise.
Tom described his bride as sexy, intelligent, and very easy to talk to. She was also 8 years older. But Tom was mature emotionally, and Mimi was beautiful.
A few years later, Mimi posed nude in Playboy, and she has the most beautiful body of any woman in Hollywood. And they fell in love.
But there were difficulties early on. Tom Cruise was on the brink of superstardom, but Mimi Rogers' star wasn't nearly as bright.
She was a little more than a starlet. She had been in a few films, but she was nowhere near a star, much less a superstar. And they were a little competitive.
Despite the disparity of status and the apparent competition, it looked like love would conquer all. In the meantime, Tom was on a hot streak, racking it up at the box office with a string of great movies. With Paul Newman, he made a friend for life, and in the movie The Color of Money, Tom impressed the acting legend not only with his talent, but with his ability to put his star status into perspective.
I think he really wants to learn, and I'm really impressed by the fact that all this crap doesn't really impress him.
After he made Rain Man, he already had enough clout to make any movie he wanted. It brought him class. That movie proved that Tom Cruise wasn't just a popular actor. It showed that he could act. He could hold his own against one of our greatest actors, Dustin Hoffman.
Tom, I don't think, thinks of acting as acting. I think he thinks of acting as getting in the ring with Tyson. So when he's in training, I think he's in fear of his life. I don't think there's any other way to go.
Every day.
Yeah, he gets up, he does road work, and then he gets, he spars a little bit.
Tom was now considered a peer by some of the most talented people in Hollywood, and with admiration comes a good dose of kidding.
Tom Cruise, ladies and gentlemen! Please give it up, Tom Cruise!
Take over. They're going to ask you questions about Stephen, so good luck. I'll just sign for you. Just stand here for me. I'll translate for Russian.
First, I've got to go after Robin. Can I go before Robin? Thank you.
Damn, you look like a before and after commercial. Hi, thanks to this incredible implant, you can become Tom Cruise.
All right, from now on, do my business.
The Academy Award for both Best Picture and Best Actor, Tom Cruise was yet to be honored with a major acting award. That changed after his next film. Tom Cruise won his first Golden Globe, and that elevated the actor to a new level. Born on the 4th of July is the story of a Marine who learns the horrors of war firsthand in Vietnam. Tom's performance was inspired.
I was amazed the first day I met Tom Cruise. He came down to my house with Oliver Stone. I was surprised how great an understanding he had of what I had gone through, my suffering, my hurt, the difficulties that I had to overcome, to be in this world after Vietnam. In a way, I believe that our film is a gift for the people of this country.
After the success of Born on the 4th of July, Tom Cruise could have anything he wanted. What he asked for was a project called Days of Thunder. It was a race car movie, Top Gun on wheels.
I've never dreamed anything like it. The speed was incredible. Combined with that, the inherent drama, I thought it'd make a terrific film. It's just beautiful. You know, I remember I took the R&D car around Charlotte, and it was you're just driving it, and you're just out there, and you just feel like you can do anything, you know?
Days of Thunder marked a turning point in Cruise's life. He met the woman who would change his world. Tom had seen Nicole Kidman in a film, and like a man obsessed, he wanted her in his film.
I think something just clicked, and they decided that they'd make the doctor an Australian doctor. I play a neurologist in the film, and that they really wanted me to do it. And it just, I mean, I think it was just something where he saw me on the screen and just decided yes.
Tom decided yes, both on and off screen. Their romance blossomed on the movie set, and when it was time for the wrap party, Cruise did not invite his wife. Tom's first marriage ended quickly.
Unlike his relationship with Mimi Rogers, they are their biggest fans. It's a mutually supporting relationship. If she's working, he takes all movie making. If he's working, she takes time off from her films.
Tom Cruise married Nicole Kidman on Christmas Eve 1990 in Telluride, Colorado. And despite the couple's worldwide fame, he and Nicole managed to maintain as much privacy as possible. They've adopted 2 children, and by all accounts enjoy a very happy and loving family life. Tom Cruise turned 30 on July 3rd, 1992, and he began to receive a string of honors. The National Association of Theater Owners recognized Cruise for selling over $1 billion in tickets and as much in concessions. The Chicago Film Festival named him the Actor of the Decade. It was also a year audiences would see Tom Cruise as they had never seen him before.
The film is called Far and Away. It's about a young Irish lad turned to central Ireland who flees and overcomes odds and becomes a success.
Far and Away was a movie near and dear to director Ron Howard's heart, bringing the real lives of Howard's ancestors to the big screen.
I was really lucky. It was, you know, I wanted to stop and sort of take a snapshot of it, and just to never forget that in my career I actually got to do this thing that was kind of out of my own family history, and that's a rare opportunity.
The historical epic cost $70 million to make. It was a grand undertaking. It was also the first movie starring one of the most talked about couples in Hollywood. Tom and Nicole were on their honeymoon, and they were very much in love.
It was wonderful. People say, gosh, it must be hard spending that much time together, but we spent 24 hours a day together and we loved it. And we also got to work on it 24 hours a day. So we were constantly, you know, improvising scenes at 3 a.m. in the morning and worrying about it. But it really means that you're sharing something.
Although Far and Away didn't break any U.S. box office records, Tom was quick to point out that the movie was a great success overseas. Perhaps Hollywood wasn't ready to see their American hero speak with an Irish brogue.
I work my tail off on every single thing I do. And what I don't appreciate is people not understanding what it takes for a movie to make money. And I'm telling you, when it's all said and done, and even now, Far and Away will make money.
He's, for all practical purposes, a producer now of all the movies he makes, which means he pulls the principals together, the cinematographer, the director. He chooses them or at least passes on them, and he works with them and shapes the script as it goes along. And he's not one of these prima donnas that just has power and kind of abuses it and wants changes and what, you know, he makes, for a young man, he brings a lot of wisdom and experience to a movie set and makes some good decisions.
Striving for the best also runs in the family. While few couples can successfully combine a personal and professional relationship, Tom and Nicole seem to have figured it out.
I had some anxiety about it going in. You know, they had worked together in Days of Thunder, and they really felt confident about not letting the movie and the sort of the intensity of the experience making a movie and the pressure and the stress affect the marriage. But nonetheless, I was a little worried, you know, that I'd find myself in a Duck in a Vase or something.
Tom and Nicole love to work together, yet they realize their work will sometimes keep them apart. After Far and Away, Tom was once again at the top of the Hollywood dream machine with the movie A Few Good Men. Director Rob Reiner knew Tom had what it would take to bring the young naval attorney to life.
He's the only young actor that I know that has the power that's necessary to stand up to, you know, Jack Nicholson. He needed to be able to, it's a David and Goliath story. He needed to be able to stand up. He also needed to be personable. He also had to have a charm and a sense of humor, which he does at the beginning of the, you know, throughout the film. And he also needed to have a sexuality because there's no sex in the movie.
A Few Good Men co-starred Demi Moore and Jack Nicholson. Critics called the movie powerful, compelling, spellbinding. It was also one of the most successful movies that year, and it made Cruise one of Hollywood's highest-paid actors. But despite the money, Tom remains grounded.
I remember as a kid growing up, and, you know, we didn't have a lot of money, and I think of freedom to say, I'd like that bicycle, I'm going to buy it, you know. But with it, I did not understand also the level of responsibility that came with money. That was shocking to me when I started making it. And, yeah, I've had to educate myself in that whole area. And I think that there's a lot of great things that can be done with money also in terms of, you know, just helping people. That's is a great freedom.
At 30, Tom had already established an ability to make blockbusters. The Firm was based on a best-selling novel and an excellent example of the star's work, leading to comparisons to some of Hollywood's greatest legends.
I think Tom Cruise is kind of the Paul Newman of his generation. I mean, there's a lot of parallels there, and at one point their careers intersected, and they were in the Color of Money together. And if you look at them, Paul Newman has always maintained kind of a sense of class and had a good sense of what movies to be in and how to carry himself in the movies he was in. And I think Tom Cruise is a good example of that now, and he's got, you know, he's going to be around a long time. I mean, he's still a very young man. We've known him a long time. It feels like he's been a member of the family, or so to speak, all of our lives, but he's still only in his early 30s, and you know, he's going to be part of our pop cultural lives for a very long time.
Praise. One honor has eluded the young star, the Academy Award. But perhaps Tom can take comfort in the fact that his fans consistently vote him Best Actor, choosing him several times as the country's most beloved actor by bestowing upon him the People's Choice Award. But this award was strictly for laughs. In 1994, he won the Harvard University Hasty Pudding Club Man of the Year honor. And in the tradition at Harvard, the man must dress like a woman.
I really only had two ambitions in my life. One was to be a Harvard graduate. The other was to win the Hasty Puddings. I don't know what I'm going to do with myself now. I'll probably just disappear, I don't know, into obscurity. Thank you very much. This is a great honor. And it's, for me, I'm very proud to be invited and welcomed into such illustrious and, I guess, notorious crowd as the Hasty Puddings Theatrics and everyone they've honored before me. To another 146 years of success, on with the show.
After the success of The Firm, Tom starred in another book adaptation, Interview with the Vampire. Tom Cruise took a leap into the part, and once again, he struck gold. His urge to grow within the industry has propelled him from actor to producer. His first effort in that role is yet another mega hit, one that boasted one of the biggest opening day weekends in film history, Mission Impossible.
Tom Cruise is a superstar because his innate likability is magnified in 70 millimeters.
If there's anyone in America right now who represents a human being, who represents movies in the 90s, it's Tom Cruise.
I think he works really hard at his craft. He's genuinely, from what I have known from him, a nice person, and he maintains just enough secrecy, you know, to keep him intriguing. And that's very important in a superstar.
As long as Tom has the desire to make movies, Hollywood's greatest filmmakers are happy to have him. Because Tom Cruise usually equals blockbuster at the box office. For Tom Cruise, life has a spectacular view from the very top.